in a world that's constantly trying to break your focus, steal your peace, and control your reactions. Let me ask you, how can you conquer anything if you haven't first conquered your own mind, before you face your enemies, your critics, even your dreams? There's one battle you must win. The war within. I didn't become Bruce Lee by chance. I became Bruce Lee by mastering what most ignore: my thoughts, my emotions, my energy. Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to share isn't just advice. It's the mindset that made me unstoppable. 1, silence the noise, sharpen the signal. In this world, your mind is constantly under attack, not by fists, but by noise. The endless opinions of others, the fear they project onto you, the distractions that pull your attention in every direction. Every day, the world tells you what you should be, what you should fear, what you should chase. That's the noise, but a true warrior cannot afford confusion.
When I was training, I realized something very early. If my mind was not clear, my body would follow chaos. I had to make a choice. Either let the world shape my thoughts or take control and shape them myself.
So I chose silence. I didn't mean just being quiet. I meant creating a space where all the external voices, doubts, and useless chatter had no power over me. I would sit in stillness, no music, no movement, no distractions. And I would ask myself, is this thought mine? Or is it just fear pretending to be truth? And more often than not, I discovered that my limitations were not real. They were noise I had absorbed from the world. Silencing the noise is how I heard the signal. The signal is your inner voice, the one that doesn't scream but speaks in stillness. It's the voice that knows what you truly want, the one that knows what you're capable of becoming, but it can't be heard unless you turn the volume down on everything else. So empty your mind. Let it become still like calm water, because only when the ripples fade will the truth rise to the surface. And when that happens, your path becomes clear. Not because someone told you what to do, but because your own soul finally had the chance to speak. That is when a warrior truly begins to see. 2. Question every limiting belief. When I looked around, I saw the same pattern everywhere. People believing in limits that were never truly theirs. They believed they couldn't succeed because someone once told them they weren't good enough. They believed they couldn't be strong, couldn't be fast, couldn't be great, because the world handed them a script full of doubt and they followed it blindly. But I refused to accept that script. They said, "Bruce, you're too small." They said, "You're not American enough." They said, "You'll never be taken seriously in Hollywood." And I asked one thing in return. Who decided that? That question is power. You see, every belief you hold either builds you or breaks you. And many of those beliefs aren't even yours. They're inherited from society, from fear-filled parents, from failures of others who gave up. They pass their limits on to you. But just because someone gave you a belief doesn't mean you have to keep it. When I began questioning those voices, I found something powerful. Most of my so-called limits dissolved when I faced them. Fear was just smoke. Doubt was just dust. What remained was me, pure, unshaped, unlimited. You must do the same. Stop accepting every fearful thought as truth. Stop letting weakness in your mind dress up like logic. Ask yourself, is this belief helping me rise or holding me back? If it holds you back, burn it. If it weakens you, destroy it.
If it doesn't align with your growth, it has no place in your mind.
You were not born to be a copy of someone else's limitations. You were born to write your own rules. And that begins when you start questioning everything that tries to cage you. Challenge your thoughts, and your freedom will follow. 3. Prepare so deeply that doubt cannot survive. Preparation isn't about hoping you'll win. It's about making sure there's no way you can lose. When I stepped into the ring, I didn't leave anything to chance. I trained my body, my reflexes, my breathing, and most importantly, my mind. Every punch I threw, every kick I practiced, was repeated thousands of times until it became instinct. Why? Because when you've practiced so deeply that your mind no longer questions whether you can perform, doubt simply disappears. Imagine waking before dawn, heart still heavy with sleep, yet moving through every strike and block with absolute precision. You feel the muscles burn, the sweat drip, the lungs tighten, and you welcome it because you know that each painful repetition steals your confidence. In those moments, you're teaching your brain, when faced with chaos, I will respond with calm. When tested, I will deliver. But preparation isn't only physical. I studied strategy, visualized every possible scenario, and rehearsed how I would react under pressure, even in the dead silence of my mind. I would close my eyes and see an opponent's attack, feel my body shift, and execute my counter without thinking. By the time I entered actual combat, my mind had already won that battle. You too must prepare so thoroughly that hesitation has no foothold. Drill your skills until they're second nature. Rehearse your goals until they feel inevitable. Visualize success so vividly that any thought of failure feels foreign. When doubt knocks, there will be no answer, because you've already proven to yourself beyond question that you are ready. Train until every fiber of your being knows victory is not a possibility but a certainty. 4. Control the reaction. Control the outcome. Every moment life tests you, not with gentle encouragement, but with sudden blows, an unexpected insult, a traffic jam that flares your temper, a deadline that makes your heart race. You cannot always choose the blows you receive, but you can choose how you respond to them. In the heat of the moment, reacting on impulse hands control to external forces, anger, fear, frustration. They become your oppressor when you let them dictate your actions. True mastery begins the instant you realize your reaction is your power. When I was training, I discovered that every flinch, every snap of anger, every moment of panic cost me more than any punch could. So I created a sacred pause, a fraction of a second between stimulus and response. In that pause, I learned to breathe, to observe my racing thoughts, to feel my heart pounding, and then to choose. That choice was never automatic. I practiced it like any other skill, again and again, with relentless repetition. I stood before a mirror and imagined insults, then forced myself not to flinch. I visualized sudden darkness and learned to find calm in the center of my mind. To build this discipline, start small. The next time someone cuts you off in traffic, resist the urge to honk or shout. Close your eyes for 1 second. Draw a deep breath and say to yourself, I decide my peace. Feel the air fill your lungs, steady your heartbeat, and let your mind settle. That simple act rewires your nervous system. Over time, you'll find that what once triggered fury now slides off you like water on a stone. You will not be a prisoner of your emotions. But it isn't only about anger. Fear can freeze you just as effectively. When you're afraid of failure, when your mind whispers that you're not ready for that promotion, that challenge, or that confrontation, you must learn to respond with curiosity instead of panic. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this moment? How can this uncertainty sharpen me? Turn fear into fuel. The pause between fear and reaction is where transformation happens. In that space, you reclaim your will. In training, I paired physical drills with mental rehearsals. I would sprint until my lungs burned, then immediately close my eyes and meditate. My body exhausted, my mind calm. That contrast taught me resilience. No matter how chaos rages around me, I can find stillness. You can do the same. After your next workout, sit in silence and observe the echoes of exertion in your body. Let your breath guide you back to calm. This practice builds a fortress around your mind, one that cannot be breached by stress or provocation. Control of reaction is control of outcome. A calm mind sees opportunities where a chaotic mind sees threats. A calm reaction diffuses conflict. An impulsive reaction ignites it. When you learn to master this rule, you become untouchable. Your opponents have nothing to exploit. You step into every situation unshakable, unafraid, and utterly free. Remember, life's punches shape you only if you allow them to. In that sacred pause, choose your response, control the reaction, and you will control every outcome. 5. Shape your thoughts like you shape your body. You wouldn't expect to build a champion's physique by wandering into the gym once a month, lifting a weight, then walking away. Yet most people treat their minds that way, grabbing any thought that drifts by, feeding it until it grows wild, then wondering why they feel weak. Your mind is an arena where every belief, every inner voice takes up residence. If you neglect it, you'll find yourself living out someone else's script. So I decided early on, I would train my mind with the same discipline I trained my body. Every day, I carved out time to sculpt my inner world. Morning mental warm-up. Before the sun crept over the horizon, I began with a set of mental repetitions. Just as I would shadow box to awaken my muscles, I shadow thought to awaken my mind. I repeated powerful affirmations. I am in control. I choose growth. I am my own master. With each repetition, I rewired my neural pathways, replacing hesitation with certainty. Then I visualized success. I saw myself moving fluidly, reacting calmly, achieving my goals. By rehearsing victory in my mind, I gave my muscles and my spirit a clear map to follow. Replace negative self-talk with empowering truths. Fear has many disguises, but most dangerous of all is self-doubt masquerading as logic. You can't, says one voice. You'll fail, says another. I refused to let those whispers become my truth. Whenever a negative thought surfaced, I paused and asked, is this thought serving me? If not, I dismantled it piece by piece and replaced it with a question that fueled possibility. What if I can? Over time, I trained myself to catch that doubt at its inception, like intercepting an opponent's punch before it lands, and pivot instantly to belief. Meditation, the core workout for your mind. You can't see your thoughts the way you see your biceps flex, but you can feel them tugging at your peace. I learned to sit in stillness every day, eyes closed, attention on the breath. In that silence, I observed my thoughts as they arose, judgments, fears, memories, then gently let them pass. This practice is the mind's equivalent of core training. It strengthens your ability to remain centered when chaos strikes. When you meditate, you don't suppress thoughts. You master the art of noticing them without letting them dictate your actions. Mental reps under pressure. Physical strength forged under easy conditions fades the moment the environment shifts. That's why I introduced pressure drills for the mind. During sparring sessions, I would dial up the challenge. Faster strikes, unexpected angles, verbal taunts, and force myself to maintain calm. Each time panic crept in, I reminded myself, this too is practice. By rehearsing composure under duress, I built a mental reflex so strong that in real combat or in life's sudden crises, I didn't have to think. My response was already programmed. Breathe deeply, assess clearly, act decisively. Guard your mind like a fortress. Just as you wouldn't let strangers wander into your house, you must guard your mind against toxic influences. I curated my intake of information. I read books that challenged me, listened to ideas that stretched me, avoided gossip that weakened me, negative news, cynical voices, energy-draining habits. They have no place in a champion's headspace. Instead, I filled my mind with stories of triumph, lessons from masters, and insights that broadened my vision. By choosing what I allowed in, I shaped the very architecture of my thoughts. Translate inner strength into outer action. Thoughts alone won't change your life. You must act on them. After each mental rehearsal and meditation session, I set one clear intention for the day. a goal to pursue, a habit to reinforce, a fear to face. I carried that intention with me into every workout, every conversation, every decision. When doubt appeared, I recalled the mental shape I had forged: steady, disciplined, undefeated. Then I moved. In time, my outer reality began to mirror my inner world. I didn't just think like a warrior, I lived like one. Your mind, the ultimate tool and weapon. If you sculpt your body without neglecting your mind, you become unstoppable. But if you hone your mind without training it deliberately, your efforts will scatter like dust in the wind. Remember, the most powerful transformation begins in your thoughts. Shape them with intention, defend them with discipline, and let them guide every action. When your mind is as strong and as flexible as your body, you will stand unshakable. No challenge too great, no obstacle insurmountable. Master your thoughts, and you master your destiny. 6. Stop fighting shadows, start mastering yourself. Every day, most people wage war against ghosts. They argue with imagined critics, replay past mistakes in their minds, and tremble at fears that don't exist. They fight shadows, opinions they've never heard, doubts they've never tested, anxieties born from what-ifs. But here's the truth. Those shadows have no substance. They cannot hurt you unless you give them power. When I was younger, I spent too many moments wrestling with invisible opponents. I'd worry about the whispers behind my back, about failures that had already passed, about battles that might never come. Each mental fight drained my energy, scattered my focus, and left my spirit fatigued. I realized every swing at a shadow is a wasted strike. The real fight isn't out there, it's here, points to heart and mind. So I made a choice. Stop chasing illusions and start mastering the only opponent that truly matters, myself. Instead of reacting to every thought that crept in, I began observing them. I asked, why does this thought arise? What need is it signaling? In that question, I discovered the path to inner mastery. Cultivate self-awareness. Mastery begins with seeing your own patterns. Set aside time each day, just 5 minutes, to sit quietly and watch your mind. Notice recurring doubts. Am I enough? Will they accept me? Label them as shadow thoughts and let them pass like clouds across the sky. With practice, you'll recognize the shape of each illusion and cease mistaking it for reality. Journal your inner battles. Write down the moments when you felt unsettled. Describe the trigger, the thoughts that followed, and how you reacted. Over time, you'll see the same shadows appear in different guises. When you identify the pattern, fear of failure, need for approval, resistance to change, you strip the thought of its power. Knowledge of the self is the greatest weapon. Meditate to observe, not suppress. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind. It's about witnessing your thoughts without judgment. As you breathe, imagine each thought as a leaf floating down a stream. You don't snatch it, you don't chase it, you simply watch it drift away. This discipline rewires your mind. Instead of engaging every doubt, you become the calm observer who chooses where to focus. Mirror the truth. Stand before a mirror and speak aloud the virtues you want to embody: courage, clarity, compassion. Feel the words resonate in your chest. This exercise trains your mind to align language with identity. When negative self-talk rises, counter it immediately with a statement of truth. I embrace challenge, or I am grounded in purpose. Over time, your mind learns to speak your truth before echoing shadows. Define your core values. Shadows only dominate where values are unclear. Take a moment to write down 3 principles that guide your life: honor, authenticity, growth. When a shadow thought appears, you can't do that. Ask, does this align with my values? If it doesn't, dismiss it. Living by a clear code transforms every decision. You no longer chase approval, you chase alignment. Turn self-reflection into action. Mastery isn't passive. After each meditation or journal session, choose one action that embodies your insight. If you discovered a fear of public speaking, commit to addressing it. Record a 1-minute video of yourself, then watch it without judgment. Each small step strengthens your self-trust and weakens the shadows that once controlled you. Learn from failure, don't fear it. Shadows grow in the darkness of avoidance. When you stumble, don't hide, analyze. What thought led to hesitation? What pattern needs rewriting? I once missed a critical strike in sparring and felt the weight of that failure, but I didn't dwell. I reviewed the footage, identified my lapse in focus, and drilled the correction until it became instinct. That failure became fuel. Embody your mastery daily. True mastery is not a destination, it's a way of life. Each morning, as you step into the world, remind yourself, I am not my fears. I am the observer of my thoughts. I decide which battles to fight. Carry that mantra into every challenge, every meeting, every workout, every unexpected twist. When you stop exhausting yourself on shadows, you discover an untapped reservoir of energy and focus. You become present. You become powerful. You become yourself. Master yourself, and you master your world. 7, don't just defeat the enemy, become untouchable. You trained to win battles, but what if true victory means no battle at all? Defeating an opponent still leaves you exposed to the next attack. To be truly powerful, you must become untouchable, so aligned in mind, body, and spirit that no force can disturb your inner core. This isn't about hiding from conflict or avoiding challenges. It's about transforming so completely that every threat bounces off you like rain off a lotus leaf. Your first step is absolute presence. When you inhabit this moment fully, senses alive, breath steady, thoughts still, you cease reacting to shadows of past hurts or fears of future failures. In that presence lies an impervious calm. Practice anchoring yourself in the now by focusing on a single sense. Feel the ground beneath your feet, hear the smallest breath, notice the light on your skin. As distractions fade, you discover a stillness that no external storm can touch. Cultivate emotional resilience. Imagine emotions as waves rolling onto the shore. You are the unshakable sand beneath. When anger, jealousy, or doubt surge, don't fight them. Observe. Label each feeling. This is anger, or this is insecurity. By witnessing without judgment, you prevent emotions from hijacking your mind. Over time, you'll find that feelings no longer push you off balance. They rise, then recede, leaving you unbroken. Now, learn fluid adaptability. The water principle. Water does not resist. It flows around obstacles, shifts shape under pressure, and returns stronger. In training, I moved with opponents rather than against them, yielding when struck, then redirecting their force. In life, you must yield to circumstances without surrendering your spirit. When plans collapse or expectations shatter, flow with the change, bend without breaking. In that adaptability, you become unpredictable, untouchable by rigid patterns. Build an unbreakable foundation of self-trust. Doubt is the hammer that cracks spirit. Trust is the steel that endures every blow. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, rising early for training, keeping a commitment, facing a fear, you strengthen that steel. Write small vows, a daily push-up challenge, a moment of silent gratitude before action, a refusal to speak ill of others. With each fulfilled promise, your core becomes impenetrable. Embrace integrated harmony of mind, body, and spirit. True untouchability arises when all three move as one. Your body trains your mind. Physical discipline sharpens mental focus. Your spirit guides your body. Deep purpose fuels your movements. Your mind directs your spirit. Clarity of intention channels your energy. Practice routines that honor this unity. Martial drills seamlessly followed by meditation, then immediate application of philosophy in everyday tasks. This integration weaves an unbreakable garment of resilience around you. Ingrain spiritual stillness into action. Stillness is not passivity. It's a vantage point from which you see every shift and every opening. I carried my quiet center into every spar, every film scene, every moment of fame. I was present, aware, and untouched by ego or fear. You can do the same. Before any important interaction, close your eyes for a single breath. Feel a drop of silence spread through your chest, then step forward. That ripple of stillness will carry you through conflict unruffled. Live as the lesson you teach. Becoming untouchable is not a destination. It's a continuous journey of self-mastery. Each day, challenge one small fear. Refine one shaky thought. Deepen one breath of meditation. With consistency, these steps compound into an impervious spirit. When others see you calm under pressure, unwavering in principle, and fluid in action, they won't just respect you, they'll witness true mastery. To be untouchable is to transcend victory and defeat alike. Master these practices, and you will stand unshakable in any storm, truly the legend of your own mind. 8. Forge your own path, absorb, discard, innovate. In my journey, I discovered that no two fighters, thinkers, or creators need follow the exact same map. Yet most people wander, trying to imitate someone else's footsteps, hoping to find success by copying the outer moves without understanding the inner principles. True mastery demands more than mimicry. It requires you to absorb what is useful, to discard what is not, and then to add what is uniquely your own. This rule is the heartbeat of innovation. It turns every influence into fuel for your personal evolution. Every master I studied, whether in martial arts, philosophy, or art, offered precious insights. I learned from Wing Chun's economy of motion, from Taoism's harmony with nature, from boxing's emphasis on timing. But if I had stopped there, I would have become a mere curator of other people's ideas. Instead, I sifted through each lesson, keeping the essence, discarding the dogma, and then experimenting until a new form emerged. That form was Jeet Kune Do, fluid, formless, free. But knowledge alone is not enough. You must engage your mind as actively in this process as you do your muscles during training. Passive consumption, reading a book or watching a master's demonstration, without critical reflection, only pads your mind with clutter. You must become the filter. Ask yourself with every idea, how does this align with my goals? Does it strengthen my core, or is it just dazzling noise? That question spares you from accumulating useless practices and mental distractions. First, absorb what is useful. Seek out the teachers, techniques, and philosophies that resonate with your purpose. When you read a passage that sparks clarity, underline it. When a drill highlights a blind spot, maybe in balance, maybe in confidence, practice it until you own it. But don't stop at imitation. Drill with intent. Feel how the lesson transforms your body and mind. Record your insights. Let those distilled truths become your foundation. Then discard what is not. Every tradition carries baggage, rituals performed without understanding, beliefs repeated without testing. These distractions weigh you down. I remember hearing martial artists insist on rigid stances that never saw real combat, or philosophers mired in abstractions that paralyzed action. I tested each claim in the crucible of my own practice. If something failed under pressure, I dropped it. If it didn't serve my growth, I released it. Learning to say no to superfluous advice is as powerful as saying yes to new wisdom. Finally, innovate. Add what is uniquely your own. Here lies the true art. After you have absorbed and discarded, ask, what can I create from these pieces? Combine them in novel ways. Bend them through your experiences. When I blended boxing's footwork with Wing Chun's centerline theory, I didn't ask permission, I just moved. That bold experimentation turned theory into living truth. Innovation requires the courage to fail, to look foolish, and to keep refining until your creation stands on its own merit. You must practice this cycle daily in every area of life. In your work, in your relationships, in your habits, apply the same filter. When you encounter a strategy for productivity, test it. If it helps you enter flow, embrace it. If it slows you down, let it go. When you learn a new communication technique, integrate it in conversation. If it feels fake, discard it. Over time, you will develop a style that feels effortless because it springs from your authentic center. Here's a simple method to implement this principle. Journal and reflect. Spend 10 minutes each evening writing down one new idea you encountered. Note how it affected you. Label and filter. For each idea, assign a purpose, growth, clarity, creative spark. If the label reads confusion, mark it for removal. Prototype and test. Take one absorbed idea and apply it in a real situation. Your workout, a project, a conversation. Observe the outcome. Iterate. Based on feedback, refine your approach. Keep what works, tweak what needs adjustment, and discard what fails.
In martial arts, this meant customizing techniques to fit my body type, my reaction speed, my temperament. In writing, it meant blending philosophical depth with blunt, actionable advice. In teaching, it meant speaking directly to the viewer's challenges, not reciting a script. Each innovation carried a piece of my experience, my failures, my triumphs.
When you forge your own path, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. Opponents, colleagues, even your own doubts cannot anticipate the shape of your next move. You are not limited by doctrine, you are guided by principle. Remember, the creators who change the world do not simply repeat what came before, they reshape it. They stand on the shoulders of giants, then climb higher, carving out new horizons. When you absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and innovate with courage, you unlock your full potential. This is how you transform influence into originality. This is how you become not just a fighter of shadows, but an architect of your own legend. Forge your path and let the world watch your unique way unfold. You've walked through the fire of self-doubt, silence, and relentless questioning. You've trained your mind as rigorously as your body, sifting useful wisdom from hollow tradition, bending like water under pressure, and standing unshakable in the face of any storm. Now, you hold in your hands the blueprint to win the war within before you face anyone else. Every rule you've learned, silencing the noise, dismantling limiting beliefs, preparing so deeply that doubt cannot survive, mastering your reactions, sculpting your thoughts, stopping fights with shadows, elevating yourself beyond victory and defeat, and forging a path that is uniquely your own, stands as a pillar beneath your unbreakable foundation. But knowledge alone is not mastery. Real power comes when you live these principles each morning, each decision, and each heartbeat. Practice without pause. In moments of silence, sit with your thoughts. In moments of chaos, pause your reaction. In moments of fear, ask yourself, what can I learn? With each repetition, mental, physical, spiritual, you reaffirm the truth. You are not your fears. You are the master of them. Embed these lessons in action. Rise before the world stirs. Speak your affirmations with intent. Meditate not to escape life, but to sharpen your presence within it. When challenges appear, criticism, setbacks, uncertainty, view them as mirrors reflecting the strength you've built. Respond not with reaction, but with the calm confidence of a warrior who has already won. Remember your own words. Absorb what is useful. Discard what is not. Add what is uniquely your own. Take this wisdom, make it yours, and let it resonate through every fiber of your being. Let it guide your steps, fuel your creativity, and steel your spirit against every doubt. Now stand tall, breathe deeply, feel the stillness at your core. The war in your mind is over. Victory is your birthright. Step into the world not as a follower of rules, but as the architect of your own destiny. Go forth, practice these rules not once, but forever. Let them shape you until your mind becomes as fluid as water, as solid as steel, and as free as the wind. When you do, you will not simply face the world, You will move it. Be water, my friend.